The 2024 Australian Open women's draw continues to be more jarring day by day.
This ain't the Oscars, is it? I'm used to something a little bit different, but let's go. We bring our own drinks up in places like this.
Hi, my name is Christian Basnight and welcome back to my YouTube channel. A lot of people were anticipating a spicy Australian Open quarterfinal between Victoria Azarenka and Elina Svitolina, but both of these two mothers were sent packing from the tournament in surprising fashion yesterday. Before I talk about those results, I do want to preview today's quarterfinal matchups between Coco Gauff and Marta Kostyuk, and then Aryna Sabalenka and Barbora Krejcikova. Coco and Marta dominated their respective fourth round opponents, and they each dropped 3 games apiece in their matches. Coco, she beat Magdalena Frech 6-1, 6-2 in 64 minutes. Unlike the match against Alicia, Coco is more of the aggressor here, as she had to be. Frech was more of a kind of a pusher slash counter puncher, and she did not have many weapons in her arsenal. This was a very solid match from Coco. She had 21 winners to 19 unforced errors. Now, Frech, she did play poor. It was a big step up though in facing Gauff, who's more solid from the ground and has more firepower overall. The forehand too has gotten progressively better from Gauff, and it's become more of a weapon. I've been pleased with how she's been hitting through it a little bit more, but it's been so heavy and it's not landing as short in the court as it was in rounds prior. So that's a big reason of why she's dominated her recent opponents. Marta Kostyuk, meanwhile, she played unbelievable tennis against Russian qualifier Maria Timofeyeva. She won that one 6-2, 6-1. Timofeyeva is very talented too. She beat Caroline Wozniacki and Beatrice Haddad-Maia in order to get to the fourth round stage, but Kostyuk just took the racket out of the poor girl's hand. It was brutal. She attacked every aspect of her game. Marta doesn't have a huge serve, but she was able to hit her spots well, and even when she wasn't hitting aces, she was able to back up her serve nicely with solid, second shots. And then she was also afraid of coming to the net, which is something you need to do against more consistent baseliners like a Timofeyeva. Her athleticism too was on full display, just sliding everywhere, hitting these unbelievable drop volleys. I was truly astounded. That was probably one of the best matches or displays of tennis that I've seen this tournament thus far. Everyone I know thinks that this would be another easy match for Coco. Coco, by the way, has not dropped a set yet this tournament, and people feel that she's just going to waltz right into the semifinal, but I do not know that if that's the case. Like I said, while I was watching that Kostyuk Timofeyeva match, I was a bit concerned for Coco because Kostyuk looks hungry and on a mission. This will be a very different matchup for Coco too than what she's been accustomed to this tournament. Parks didn't really have a solid game strategy, or she wasn't able to consistently challenge Coco. Kostyuk is much more consistent, and I think that she will be able to exploit Coco's forehand a little bit more. Kostyuk's forehand is a little bit better than Coco's overall, so I think that if she can get into a lot of forehand-to-forehand exchanges and then dictate from perhaps a shorter reply, Kostyuk can be successful in a lot of these baseline rallies. Kostyuk will also likely do something that Coco's opponents have not been able to do successfully thus far, which is attack her relatively weaker second serve. Coco has not yet faced an opponent to properly take advantage of that serve, and Kostyuk, especially if Coco kicks it to that backhand, Kostyuk will be all on it like she was against Timofeyeva. Kostyuk is dangerous because she's also not afraid to come in and take charge at the net. She'll need to do this against Coco, who is very tough to beat from the ground, and she can track down a lot of balls. Now, looking at the silver linings for Coco, Marta's serve is not as strong, obviously, as Coco's, and I think Gauff will have a solid chance at breaking at the majority of her return games. Also, as I keep saying, Coco's game is very tricky for opponents to handle with the flat, zinging backhand and the heavier, sometimes loopier forehand. Those are two consistently different types of balls that opponents will be facing, and Coco is such a smart player. She knows how to change her game up to face different opponents. Timofeyeva wasn't able to get as much depth on her shots possibly as she was in previous rounds. I think obviously she wasn't playing as well as she did against Wozniacki or Haddad-Maia, and I think some of that was due to her. She had to come through qualifying and she was perhaps a little bit tired. But Gauff, meanwhile, I think that if she can get consistently more depth, that will keep Kostyuk at bay from trying to attack. And Timofeyeva, like I said again, she's a decent mover, but Coco is the best mover we have out there on tour. Coco will get a lot of balls back that will frustrate the heck out of Marta and could potentially just totally kind of disrupt her spirit and momentum. Also, one of the biggest factors I have to mention is just that of the occasion of Marta playing in her very first Grand Slam quarterfinal. She's going to be playing for her first semifinal, and then this is also the first time Kostyuk has taken to Rotlevo Arena since 2018, where she played Elina Svitolina in the third round as a 15-year-old qualifier. That also just goes to show how long she's been on the pro tour, and a lot of people forget that she's still relatively young. She's only 21 years old. Kostyuk has been knocking on the door for a long time at a big slam breakthrough. She beat Maria Sakkari at Wimbledon last year, had a couple solid results on the lower level tour, so I'm really not surprised at all that she came this far. I do think that the whole talk about Coco not facing a tough opponent needs to be, put to the side after this. I think this match will go 3 sets because Kostyuk simply has the talent to do so. I can picture this Marta coming out, playing an amazing first set, winning it by a score of like 6-3, 6-4, and then Coco coming back and winning the next 2 sets 6-4, 6-2. So of course, briefly jumping into my prediction, I do believe Coco will win this match in 3 sets. Kostyuk is relatively fit. However, Coco, like I keep saying, is the most fit player on tour, and Gauff has not been tested as much this tournament. As I mentioned, she has not dropped a set this whole tournament. Meanwhile, Kostyuk has played three setters thus far and has her thigh strap, so Coco could just outlast her physically as well. Kind of reiterating my OG 2 main points, I think Coco will win out with her greater experience and just her trickier game style that might be tougher for Marta to handle. Now, talking about Krejcikova Sabalenka, Aryna has swept past all of her opponents thus far in Melbourne, including Amanda Anisimova in the 4th round, who she dominated 6-3, 6-2. This one was especially impressive because Anisimova had a winning 4-1 head-to-head over the Belarusian prior to this match. Sabalenka was simply firing on all cylinders, and there was really nothing much that Anisimova could do to disrupt her game. Krejcikova, meanwhile, has had to grind this tournament. I think she's played three setters thus far, and she recently had to overcome 16-year-old phenom Mira Andreeva by a score of 4-6, 6-3, 6-2. Krejcikova, honestly, I'm not that impressed from what I've seen from her this tournament thus far. Andreeva she did not bring the same level that we saw from her against Jabeur. I think possibly she was a little bit tired, and I think the pressure of reaching her maiden slam quarterfinal got to her, because I overall was just not pleased with that match. It was very error prone from both players, and it was scrappy, but obviously Barbora still got the win at the end of the day. That's the silver lining for her. I feel like for Krejcikova, it can only go up from here, because I was, like, again, not pleased at all from watching that match. Sabalenka leads the head-to-head between her and Barbora 5-1, and these two actually played 4 times in 2023. All those matches came within a couple of months from each other. Their first match of 23 was at the Dubai quarterfinals, which Krejcikova came back and took. Love 6, 7, 6, 6-1. Sabalenka got her lick back the next 3 matches, first at Indian Wells, where she handled Krejcikova 6-3, 2-6, 6-4. And then in Miami and Stuttgart, she won easily, only dropping 5 games apiece in those 2 matches. These two also met in a major quarterfinal 2.5 years ago at the 2021 US Open, which Sabalenka took 6-1, 6-4. Sabalenka obviously has the edge in many departments: the serve, just the overall ground game, the power that she has, but Krejcikova can navigate her strengths as well. Obviously, she's very strong, not afraid to come into the net, so she has a superior net game. That's something that she's used relatively successful in their previous matches, so maybe something that she can use again here. I think also her backhand down the line would be a huge important shot here, just being able to redirect shots and dictate the rally from her own standpoint. Krejcikova's forehand, meanwhile, it's no match for Sabalenka in the regular rallies, but she can put away shots on that forehand side whenever she needs to. Also still talking about ways in which Krejcikova still has hope here. There is more on the line for Sabalenka, who alongside Gauff is a heavy title favorite, especially now with more seeds dropping like flies. I think that though Aryna is she's too good at the moment. You just have to watch her to see. It's been flawless tennis from her thus far. She hasn't lost more than 5 games in a match. Sabalenka too has just been superior in the slam quarterfinals. I don't think she's lost one in her career. I cannot remember at least the last time that she has lost one. Yeah, I think that her level overall will just be too strong for Krejcikova, and I actually pick her taking this one in 2 sets. Now, Victoria Azarenka will not be joining her Belarusian sister Sabalenka in the quarterfinal. She bowed out to Dayana Yastremska 7-6, 6-4. Now, this would be a very heartbreaking loss for Azarenka. This was a wonderful opportunity for her to reach another slam final. She was the only woman who had reached a slam final in her entire section, so she had the most experience here coming into this 4th round day of play. The bottom line for Azarenka, her serve's been her Achilles heel for most of her career, and it's disrupted her and prevented her from going even further in this tournament. She did not serve nearly as well as she did against Elina Ostapenko. There, she made 72% of her first serves and claimed 78% of points after she made the first serve. Now, against Yastremska, she only served 57% of first serves and won 51% of those points. That said, service woes aside, she should have won this match in straight sets. She served for the first set twice, and she had 2 set points up 6-5, but Yastremska just stepped it up when she needed to, and Victoria was too passive. That's also what it comes down to. Azarenka did not have enough moxie, enough grit, enough firepower. Yastremska was hungrier. She wanted this win bad, and Azarenka did not have that intensity about her that we saw against Ostapenko. A lot of that, mostly all of that, was probably due to her knowing that this was a huge chance for her once again to go deep in this major. She was also the favorite in playing a qualifying Yastremska, who was not as experienced on the stage. Now, giving Yastremska her credit in her 10s, she played an unbelievable match, and I'm happy for her, at least, that she's finally showing her potential. She lost in the first round, I believe, in her last 9 slams. That was highlighted in a recent Sabine Lisicki fans video, so possibly she watched that video and it lit a fire underneath her, because her run here has been incredible thus far. She's knocked out now 3 seeds in Vondrousova, Navarro, and now Azarenka, and had to come through qualifying too, so that's an incredible feat. Focusing back quickly on Azarenka, a question for y'all in the comments: do you think Azarenka's slam prospects have come to an end with this loss? I don't know, it's looking a little bit bleak, and I think that she possibly has reached a slam final block to where there's the pressure of finally making another slam, and being so close to kissing another title is too much for her at times. Yastremska now faces another Yonex-sponsored athlete, Elina Svitolina, who was sent through to the quarterfinals after Elina Svitolina retired down love 3 due to back spasms. Svitolina actually went up 40 love to start the match. She had 7 game points in the opening game, was unable to close, and obviously Skova broke her. Right after that 10-minute game, Svitolina was stretching out her back, and her back locked up. She simply could not move. Svitolina took a medical timeout after falling down 2 love in that opening set, and she tried to come out, serve just wasn't doing it. She could not move, and she just was reduced to tears at the end and was forced to retire, which was just a sad scene. Elina will be disappointed too, because she was playing very well this tournament, hadn't dropped a set thus far. And this was a big opportunity for her too, with Azarenka losing while she was playing this match. So just heartbreaking for her. In the press, she said that she did indeed have a back spasm with shooting pain kind of running up her spine a little bit, but she does not expect it to be a serious issue and hopes to be back training in 1 week. Talking now about the matchup between Elina Svitolina and Dayana Yastremska, it will be a big bait ball striking affair. Both of these two women hit incredibly hard from the ground. Big ball strikers look to dictate from the first shot that they have. I do give the edge to Noskova a bit, because she's kind of able to harness her power a little bit more. She's a bit more consistent, has a bit more margin, and she's overall a tad bit more smarter out there on the court. Yastremska, when she's on, she's incredibly tough to beat, but she does have periods where she just makes kind of mind-numbing shot selection decisions. The biggest factor too, I believe, will be just physicality. Yastremska, as I mentioned, is a qualifier. She's already played 7 matches as is, and she's played 4 3-set matches. Noskova, meanwhile, she did have that tough match against Swiatek, but she didn't have to come through qualies at all. So for that reason, I do think that Noskova will advance through to her first slam semifinal. The final quarterfinal matchup to mention is between 12th seed Chinese woman Qinwen Zhang and unseeded Russian Aryna Sabalenka. Qinwen beat Oseen Dalton 6-love, 6-3, and she's actually the only seed remaining in the top half. Aryna Sabalenka, though, does look strong, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if she came through to get the upset over Zhang. She's coming into this one getting solid wins over first Sloane Stephens in the 3rd round, and then recently she beat Jasmine Paolini 6-4, 6-2, who is a talented player in herself. Paolini, interesting thing too, Qinwen would not have to face a single seed until the final if she gets that far, which is incredible. People were all up on Coco's tail talking about her draw was easy, yada yada yada, but here we have Zhang. She wouldn't have to face a seed until the final. I can't remember the last time that's happened. That's crazy. Obviously, you still have to beat the players that are in front of you, and there's no, easy road to a slam, but still, like, at least keep the same energy, y'all, that y'all had with Coco with Jane, because that's crazy. Now, that's all I have for this video, and let me know in the comments who you think would be our semifinalists here. I personally think it'll be Gauff Sabalenka, a rematch of the US Open final from last year, and then Noskova and Jane. Also, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post more videos. Briefly, I do want to note, I know I have not posted any men's videos, and I hate that for myself, but I simply have not had enough time to devote to the men's tour. But I will be doing semifinal previews for the men and final previews for the men, so stay tuned for those. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.